Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another episode podcast to talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. Huge shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. We got Martin, we got Crazy Panda, we got Steven, we got Robert, Juan, Arturo. I see you up there as well. Appreciate you guys for being here. Do me a huge favor, smack the like button here on your way in. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the start of mandatory minicamp for the Arizona Cardinals. And the reason why I'm so excited, it just means we're so much closer. Well, I mean, I get it. Right now, we're sitting in June 10th, right? We still got a ways to go. We still got the rest of June. We still got the rest of July. But then in August, we got a preseason game. So that's what I'm looking forward to right now. Football is almost back, ladies and gentlemen. And we got some things to talk about here. Obviously, with Jonathan Gannon speaking to the media today, we ended up kind of getting some tidbits here and there about obviously things to talk about. Yeah, Jonathan Gannon doesn't really give too much when it comes down to obviously, much things to talk about, but there's some tidbits here and there. Another shout out here to Walter Nolan, 16th overall pick of the 2025 NFL draft, has officially been signed by the Arizona Cardinals today, just hours before mandatory minicamp. And honestly, it's been one of those things where it's kind of been hanging over the heads of some Cardinal fans that are worried about, oh man, he shouldn't have been the 16th overall pick because we still haven't signed him. Nah, don't worry about all that, man. That is all officially put to rest and retired now, because as of right now, since about an hour ago, Walter Nolan put ink to paper and he has now officially signed his rookie deal, which I'm going to be real here. I know there was some questions that were asked from the media to the Arizona Cardinals at the first week of OTAs that Walter Nolan was not practicing, but he was like kind of like doing solo drills on the side. And then the second week, he was practicing, right? And then this all kind of came to fruition. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter anymore. Not now. He's officially an Arizona Cardinal. I think it's a 4-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I did have it here on my X/Twitter page. He ended up Adam Schefter ended up coming out and putting the details out for obviously everybody to go ahead and read. And this is exactly what the details are for his contract. So per Adam Schefter, the rookie deal is a 4-year deal, $19.3 million. That includes $10.7 million of signing bonus. So there is a 5th-year option. Obviously, with every first-round pick, there's going to be a 5th-year option, but it is a 4-year deal, $19.3 million, including a $10.7 million signing bonus per Adam Schefter. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's good, right? We don't got to worry about that anymore. But what we do got to worry about, or what we do got to talk about, is there has been some players that are not going to fully participate, or at least per Jonathan Gannon, he said that he wanted to be smart with a specific group of players. We're going to be diving into those players specifically, but we do got a full attendance of mandatory minicamp, which is good to hear, man. Like, I'm not sure about you guys or if you follow any of these other big, obviously, national media guys like your Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. They've been busy. They've been absolutely busy this morning. We ended up hearing that TJ Watt, which obviously the brother of JJ Watt's, dealing with his own contract negotiations, right? I don't think he's going to be showing up, right? There's also Terry McLaurin as well, which we'll be talking about a little later on, because I'm still on the board of wanting to get Terry McLaurin myself. Obviously, there is some specific things that we need to talk about before we jump the gun, but I would love to get him on this 53-man roster. But Terry McLaurin, who's another player out there? Oh, Shamar Stewart. A player that some Cardinal fans actually wanted for the Cardinals to sign, right? Shamar Stewart. He is not participating in mandatory minicamp for the Bengals, which makes sense at the end of the day. Who else is some players here? We heard the Jair Alexander yesterday. Who else? Jalen Ramsey will not be participating in minicamp, which we kind of already knew that one. That's not too much of a shocker. But TJ Watt, Terry McLaurin are probably one of the big names out there that has not, or also Trey Hendrickson as well. Trey Hendrickson also not participating in mandatory minicamp as well for the Bengals. So, man, there's just a lot of things to obviously dive into within the world of the NFL right now. And we don't have to worry about that as Cardinal fans. We have a full attendance. That's Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, all the guys that we ended up bringing here in free agency, all the guys that we ended up bringing here in the draft. We got everybody here in full attendance, absolutely full attendance. So I'm actually really, really excited about that. No drama here for the Cardinals. Now, I want to definitely dive into what Jonathan Gannon had to say a little earlier about obviously taking it slow with some specific players, or I guess the right terminology is that he wanted to be smart with some players, right? So let's go and dive right into exactly what he had to say, or which players were those specific players that he wanted to be smart with, right? Let's talk about it. So, mandatory minicamp does start today, Tuesday, the 10th of June, and it's going to stretch out all the way to the 12th of June. Now, per Darren Urban, obviously quoting Jonathan Gannon, these are the players that Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals organization wanted to be smart with right now. Well, does this mean that they didn't practice in OTAs and they just kind of wanted to ramp them up, maybe, right? Or they just want to be smart with them in general. We don't know, right? We don't know the ins and outs, but these are the players that they want to be smart with. Josh Sweat, okay. Justin Jones, which came off of a big injury, so it makes sense, right? Maybe still rehabbing some sort of injury. Who knows? Dalvin Tomlinson, another big-time acquisition for the Arizona Cardinals in this last offseason during free agency. Zay Jones, very surprising that Zay Jones is there, but it is what it is. And then Will Johnson, cornerback Will Johnson. Now, during this whole topic of conversation with us talking about Walter Nolan now putting ink to paper, there's only one specific prospect now. One prospect that the Arizona Cardinals have not signed to their rookie deals as of yet. One. And that is Will Johnson. Will Johnson has not signed his rookie deal yet. Now, is that the reason why he's a part of this list in terms of why they're taking it slow for, you know, not having a full workload? I mean, we don't know, right? We don't know. I know there's some people that are concerned with obviously the injury concerns that came along with Will Johnson. I mean, when you're seeing Will Johnson here on this list, obviously it's not something that's going to have you sleep good at night because obviously the injury concerns and he's not signed his contract. I mean, it could be a plethora of different reasons, right? We don't know. But these are the players that the Cardinals want to be smart with. Now, mandatory minicamp. We're going to start seeing some highlights here and then we're going to start seeing some things kind of shine within the Arizona Cardinals universe, with obviously Kyler Murray making crazy plays, Marvin Harrison Jr. making crazy plays. Did you guys see Marvin Harrison Jr. in the media day yesterday? They ended up having the media day photos come out for the Arizona Cardinals, and Good Lord, does Marvin Harrison Jr. look absolutely jacked up from year one to year two. Like, I mean, good Lord. Like, I'm like, dang. If there's one thing that Marvin Harrison Jr. wanted to work on in this offseason was probably to get maybe, I guess, fill out more, right? Maybe be more physical at the line of scrimmage, right? Any of those things. But let me show you here real quick for the people that don't know what I'm talking about and don't follow the Arizona Cardinals kind of like me, right? Let's go. Look at Marvin Harrison. This is Marvin Harrison Jr. right here. What the in the live? Look at this guy. Good Lord. Now, obviously, Kyler Murray had a really cool photo as well. I got to go ahead and add him on there as well. But my goodness, Marvin Harrison Jr. looks absolutely jacked up. That's muscles on muscles right there. Like, what in a living, like, man. And of course, that's my caption, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. is jacked, and he is. He worked very, very hard this offseason, and I think he's got a lot to prove within this Arizona Cardinals 2025 year. He's got a lot to prove. I mean, there's a lot of people he heard I'm pretty sure he heard every single, criticism that was out there. I mean, and here's the thing, it's not like it wasn't warranted, right? I'm not going to come out here and say it's not warranted. There were warranted criticisms out there about Marvin Harrison Jr., specifically because you had some players like Lad McConkey, you had Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, all taken after Marv. And they all had 1,000-yard seasons, except for Marv. Now, I don't think it's fully on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think there were some balls that he dropped, but I do think he really wasn't targeted appropriately. I really think he wasn't used very, very well in this offseason, and I've been talking about that since the season started, right? But of course, right? Some people don't like to talk about things that make them uncomfortable, right? Some things people don't want to talk about things that make them uncomfortable. Only thing that I can hope for right now is that Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. finally get the connection that we're all hoping that it was going to be in 2024. Hopefully that transpires in 2025 because a lot of eyes are on this Arizona Cardinals offense. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm just excited every single year that we're starting to get new Cardinal football at the end of the day, right? Let me get some love over here to Michael Evans with the super chat. $2 super chat coming our way. He says this: I want the LB Pratt linebacker Pratt, big time. Have a great day. Fair. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we talked about this a little earlier yesterday. We talked about it. Jermaine Pratt, which is a player that was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He ended up getting released by the Bengals yesterday. Now, of course, I talked a little bit about it yesterday. I went ahead and put it on my social medias as well, that I feel like should be a player the Cardinals should at least consider or at least look his way, right? Because we're talking about a guy that, was in the top 10 in tackles and was a captain at one point. There's still a big hole and maybe like a big need at the middle linebacking core for the Arizona Cardinals, whether you want to believe it or not. I understand Kazir White was not great in coverage. I understand it. But Kazir White was such a big, vocal leader / veteran. And knowing this defense on like the back of his hand, he was a security blanket for the Arizona Cardinals on defense, on the middle, right? Now that we don't have that, and now that we're going to be rolling with Akeem Davis-Gaither, and he can surprise us. He can very well surprise us. But as of right now, there's a lot of unknown, right? There's a lot of unknown when it comes down to Akeem Davis-Gaither. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out. But yeah, I mean, you're not alone. You're not alone in this assessment or in this take, Michael Evans. I agree with you. I would like the Arizona Cardinals to at least consider looking the route of potentially bringing in a Jermaine Pratt, right? Now, obviously, it's going to depend on what he wants or if the market is highly coveted for him. But at this very moment, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you one bit. Chill Peasy on the chat says, I want Kazir back. That's a great call out as well. I just don't think Kazir White is coming back at all, unfortunately. I would love to get Kazir White back as well, even if it's just the veteranness of him being him. I would love that. I really would. I just don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to happen. Now he's still available. He's a free agent, so anything can happen, right? Absolutely. But I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. But I agree with you as well. I would like Kazir White as well. My guy Alex in the chat says, what did I miss? The really big things that you missed so far, with the exception of a lot of players that are currently right now in their contract disputes, like Terry McLaurin, Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, right? Players that are not showing up for their mandatory minicamp. We talked about that. And we also dived into players that the Arizona Cardinals want to take it a little slow when it comes down to the start of this mandatory minicamp, right? Now, I wouldn't say panic, right? I wouldn't say panic, but these are the players right now that the Arizona Cardinals are going to take it a little slow or be smart with, right? Be smart with. Josh Sweat, Justin Jones, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zay Jones, and Will Johnson. Will Johnson's really the big one to me as to like, I'm a little worried, right? Because it could be a plethora of different reasons, right? He's a rookie. He probably should be out there if he's healthy, but he has not signed his contract, his rookie deal yet. We did hear that Walter Nolan signed it today. So Walter Nolan is now inked paper. We don't have to worry about that. But now Will Johnson is the solo guy, the solo draft pick that is still yet to sign his rookie deal. So is that the reason why he's on this list and the Cardinals want to be smart with him? Or is it because injuries, right? We don't know, right? But it definitely adds a level of, oof, we'll have to kind of wait and see. To me, if I'm going to be real, I don't think it has anything to do with injuries. I think it has more to do with probably they're trying to deal with the contract situation. Because let's be real, I think Will Johnson was expected to be chosen the first round, right? And there's a big difference between the first round, tender and a second round tender, right? In terms of money wise and the way the contract is laid out. So maybe there might be a little bit back and forth with his team, Will Johnson's team, and the Arizona Cardinals. That might be what the little bit of the holdup is. I don't know, right? I'm only speculating at this very moment, but I think that might be a little bit more as to why he is on this list compared to injuries. I think he's healthy. I really do. And I don't think he was really even like used crazily in OTAs, right? I I think that's what it is, if I can be real. But like I said, that's only my 2 cents. It's not one of those things where I have any inside information. That's just kind of what I'm gonna go with, right? Chef in the chat says, I'm going to Thursday Night Football, Cardinals versus Seahawks. Let's go. Love it. Love to hear it. PL in the chat says, I want to be paid as a first rounder. I mean, everybody wants to be paid as something, right? Everybody wants to be paid as something. So, hey, I don't blame you, but we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. But let's go ahead and show some love here over to Marvin Harrison Jr. with this crazy picture that absolutely broke the internet. Multiple people kind of retweeted and just posted it on their own Instagram and their X pages as well, because Marvin Harrison Jr. absolutely looks jacked. And I'm hoping that he is going to obviously use what was the biggest knock on him last year to translate into this year. Physicality, right? One-on-one balls, contested catches, right? Let's all hope that that all kind of shakes out here for the Cardinals. So let's talk about mandatory minicamp, right? Right now, I'm not seeing a lot of clips. Usually you see some clips, and it maybe might start more at like 10:30 or maybe 11 a.m. And I'm talking about the clips that they show on the internet with obviously the Arizona Cardinals, where they show Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., the crazy connection that we all been, dying to see for a long time. We're not seeing any of those right now. There's a lot of other teams that are currently right now in their mandatory OTAs. I'm sorry, mandatory mini camps right now. I think the Jets are dealing with it. A lot of teams, the Bengals, the Steelers, everybody this time around is during that time. But good Lord, here we go. Got something here, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody want to see Calais Campbell? Anybody want to see Calais Campbell here? Good Lord. Let's show some love to Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell back in an Arizona Cardinal uniform. No, that's not the, this is what I wanted. Here we go. Let me move my head out of the way. Look at Calais Campbell. Oh, let's go. That's Calais right there. Shout out here to, I believe it was Paul Calvisi that ended up putting this video out. Yes, go. Let's go. I love that he's back, man. I really do. I really do. What I would like to see in this training camp, obviously, keep showing me more of what they're already showing. But we did hear Jonathan Gannon also talk about, because this is a big question, man. We're getting a lot of questions from the media to the Arizona Cardinals of how does Jonathan Gannon feel like we look? But Jonathan Gannon came out himself and said, like, I've been victim of saying that, man, we look good, right? Like, we look good in OTAs, but if you don't have the pads on, and I'm talking about like when you're doing the drills of the 11 on 11s, right? Or your your 7 on 7s, right? Like your actual practice of the reps, right? Jonathan Gannon came out and said, I fell victim of that before, right? I thought we looked good, but then when you go on Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays, it didn't really kind of show out the way that hopefully they were expecting. So Jonathan Gannon's very, very cautious when that question is asked with, how good do you guys look? Or how do you think that Kyler looks? I mean, for the most part, whenever Jonathan Gannon's asked about Kyler, he says nothing but glowing remarks. Nothing but glowing remarks. The biggest knock I've seen that JG had to say about K1, and it's not even a knock, but it's the tag of consistency, right? We want to see consistency or efficiency, I believe is what it was. I think I actually have the clip right here, and it's from Birds and Gambo of Arizona Sports. Uh, no, I thought I had it. I guess I don't have the clip here anymore. But yeah, it's basically the thought of being efficient, right? And showing in a consistent manner. Like that's kind of, because it's a question, man. It really is. It's one of those things that you're going to be asked year in and year out, especially if you're going into year 7 with a quarterback that has not got us a playoff win yet, right? So and I'm not sure if you guys saw the video. There's a video floating around on YouTube. And for the life of me, I completely forgot who actually made it, but there's a lot of people that are saying Kyler Murray is the problem, essentially, right? Uh, um, Now there's some people out there saying, "Oh man, the Cardinals are going to go crazy in 2020." So you have a good dosage of different types of obviously content that is out there. One of them's going to be right, right? One of them's going to be right. Either the Cardinals are going to go crazy, or the Cardinals aren't going to go crazy. We're going to go the opposite way. But there's a video floated around showing like breakdowns of, I guess, plays that were missed by Kyler. And here's the thing, right? Like when we were talking about this last year, that was exactly a lot of the criticisms that I had about K1 as well, right? A lot of the same criticisms that I seen in that video was a lot of the same criticisms that I had myself last year when I was talking about 2024. And I get it, right? It's not one of those things like people don't want to talk about things that make them uncomfortable, right? But you gotta call it like it is, right? There was plays that were made, or sorry, there were plays that were missed on the field last year, and it made our offense stale, right? The lack of converting third downs, the lack of not throwing in the middle of the field, the lack of not looking at your number one wide receiver as your number one option in specific plays, right? Like there is things that obviously need to be worked on in the game of Kyler, the play calling of Drew, the route running ability of Marv, because there has been some plays, and all right, maybe a one play that was specifically shined out that you saw some body language from a couple of his weapons, right? In that specific video where Marvin Harrison Jr. was like, "Hey, I'm open," and then he's like, or Trey McBride's like, "Hey, I'm open," and he's like, when the ball doesn't go to him, like football is such a millisecond type of sport that like it's so hard to break down something because you don't know what's going on in the mind of the quarterback, and that's why playing quarterback, you need to be poised, you need to be willing to take the hit. You need to be willing to, and that's funny, right? It's easier said than done for a podcaster to say, "Oh yeah, you got to wait, take a hit," right? And I get it, right? Coming from a guy that just talks to the microphone and not getting hit by 350-pound men, right? It's easier said than done, and I completely understand that. But I'm also not getting paid 300 million or like $200 million to talking to a microphone, right? Like the job of a quarterback, unfortunately, the grittiness of it all and the back end of it all is sometimes you gotta stand in the pocket, climb the pocket, and probably take a hit or two because that's gonna be the millisecond that you need to release that ball to make that big time catch, right? Or throw the ball to your weapon, right? So it's not funny, but it's cool to see it for full circle because nobody wanted to talk about it. Absolutely nobody wanted to talk about it during the season, right? Nobody wanted to talk about, oh, it could potentially be, K1. I said there's a reason why I said it's everybody's fault. There's a reason why I didn't want to blame it fully on Petsing, right? Because everybody wanted to use that. I fell victim of that before. I said it's all Cliff Kingsbury, right? And we got rid of Cliff Kingsbury because I thought that was going to be the sole reason as to why we were crashing and burning at the end of the season. No, I needed to take a step back. I was wrong. It could have been 75% Cliff Kingsbury, but there was also fault to go around the rest of the way. And that's kind of staying true within this offense as well. Our run game is absolutely dynamic. Will the Arizona Cardinals continue that run game? Probably. They might. They might be continuing a run heavy attack, which I'm cool with, right? But you also got to be able to get that passing game going. You got to be balanced. You can't be, oh, if your run game gets shut down, let's start those miscommunications with our run attack or our passing attack. No, you got to be able to do it every single thing, right? Even if you're doing 60-40, run heavy and then passing the 40% of the time. So it's one of those things, ladies and gentlemen, that I know, I get it, right? People don't want to talk about things that make you uncomfortable, but there's a lot of things that need to be learned from last year that we need to see in 2025. And right now, the only thing I can say is the Arizona Cardinals can be good. They can be a double-digit win team if they take advantage of their schedule and they get better on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, on paper, we're better. Defensively, on paper, we're better. It's just at this very moment, I mean, it's all lip service, right? It's all lip, just like Jonathan Gannon said. Jonathan Gannon says he fell victim, right? Jonathan Gannon fell victim of saying, "Yeah, we look really, really good," and on Thursdays, Mondays, and Sundays, things didn't translate. So he wants to be very cautious in his approach and the ways he's saying things to the media. Because let's be real, like if Jonathan Gannon came out and said, "Man, Kyler looks great," the connection between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. is amazing. Imagine how many headlines are going to come out. Jonathan Gannon came out and says year 2 of Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be great. Buy the stock. Buy, 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 buy. Kyler Murray's back. Buy, 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 buy. Right? So it's one of those things where you do got to be cautious of it, right? You got to see where you have players on your team and kind of go from there. Now, I want to talk about something here real quick. I want to give some a shout out here to my guy on X and Twitter. Shout out to my guy Brian. He ended up coming out and asking a very, very valid question, right? He ended up asking me about Terry McLaurin. Now, I ended up making a post about Terry McLaurin not showing up to mandatory OT. Yeah, not showing up to mandatory minicamp this morning, and I think if you watch my podcast, you all know that I would love to get Terry McLaurin on this roster. Now, I get it. There's going to be contract money wise, there's got to be, you know, draft capital being shelled out as well. Like, there's a lot of different factors you need to kind of take into place until, instead of just saying, I want him, but you got to talk about all these different factors, right? Now, this specific screenshot right here was asking me, like, with all these things that are kind of stacking up against the Arizona Cardinals, do I truly want, Terry McLaurin, right? Now, real quick, very, very valid points. Absolutely very, very valid points. Let me go and read this. Now, this is a part of a conversation. I don't have a full conversation. I don't want to bore you with the full thing, but I did tell him I'm going to answer this on a podcast. So, shout out Brian from X and Twitter. If anybody else has any questions and they don't get a chance to join the live chat, you can do it on X or Twitter or on my Instagram. That's the best way to communicate with me because YouTube's very, very bad with notifications and don't really tell me when anything happens. So Brian A says this as a follow-up. So you're down to pay $32 million AAV for probably 3 years or more for a wide receiver, 30 to 33 years of age. Also, probably give up at least a second round pick. Pause. Ask yourself, does a team / general manager that wants to draft and develop want to do that? A team that right now plays with multiple tight end sets and wants to be the run more than the league average. Arizona having interest in him makes very little sense under the OC and these other contributing factors. You're right. You're 110% right? Everything's stacked up for a team like the Arizona Cardinals to potentially go after a guy like Terry McLaurin. Now, I want to be real here. Do I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to make a move like this? No, I don't think they're going to make a move like this. I don't. But do I want them to make a move like this? Of course I do. Absolutely. Now, let me address, like I said, there's multiple different things here, right? Contract. Let's talk about the contract real quick. We all know that contracts, if you're talking about $32 million, right, per year or whatever the going rate of a top tier wide receiver is these days, we all know that contract situations can be fluctuated with either back ending it or, front loading it. But it really depends if your owner is willing to shield that money up front, back end. But it also really depends on what the player wants, right? If the player is looking for a 4 or 5 year extension, that's definitely something that I'm not going to touch as an Arizona Cardinal. If I was a part of the Arizona Cardinals organization. If we're talking about a 2 or 3 year extension that he's looking for because he is, 29, going to be 30 by sometime during this season, I think that might be I think that can definitely be something that can very well be, what's the word? Like, we should at least humor the idea of bringing in a Terry McLaurin. Now, talking about draft capital, it might take a second round pick. It really will. It might take a second round pick. But right now, if you look at the second round picks for the past 2 or 3 years, who's that second round pick right now that has absolutely, lit it up for the Cardinals in year one? Who? No, I mean, it took everybody some time to develop, right? And it kind of pushes the trajectory of where the Arizona Cardinals want to be this year, because we can all agree that this is a big year for this offense. This is a big year for Kyler Murray. This is a big year for the Arizona Cardinals in general. Let's say the alternative happens, and what we think could happen for the Cardinals, 10 wins, playoff berth, right? Fingers crossed that we're all being hopeful. If the alternative happens, then what happens then? Then the Arizona Cardinals potentially look into going a different direction at quarterback, right? That can be a very real possibility. What does that mean? Another 2-year, 3 rebuild, right? So that means that the 2-3 years that we build up for this rebuild didn't really work at all, right? So the way my mind process is that if you were to go and say to yourself, this is going to be our 2-year window that Kyler Murray is going to give us a playoff win, go through the playoffs, or maybe make a Super Bowl run, you probably should make a move like this and bring in a veteran that can do it and has been doing it for years and years and years. Now, of course, there is a level of concern when it comes down to injury. Of course, that's everything, right? Whenever you make a move, free agency, draft, anything, trade for somebody, there is a risk of injury. That's everywhere, right? But if you're really trying to say to yourself, this is going to be a year that Kyler Murray needs to make the playoffs, you might as well give him a weapon that can very well do it in the NFL. And that's when I see Terry McLaurin. Now, do I think the Commanders are going to get rid of him? I don't think so. If they were smart, no, they probably wouldn't. But it's a conversation to have because Terry McLaurin is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, bar none. Now, for the question that was asked about, we have so many sets with 12 personnel, 13 personnel, right? If we're talking about 12 personnel in general, wouldn't you rather have Marvin and Terry McLaurin over Marvin and Michael Wilson? Now, I'm not gonna be real. I'm gonna be real here. Michael Wilson, I'm actually really excited about what he can do in year 3 or at year 3 now. But if I'm gonna get that option and he was gonna be on here, you are going to accommodate to the players that you have on this roster. The Arizona Cardinals right now does not have a stellar wide receiving core, right? We're all expecting Marvin Harrison Jr. to take that big step, right? But if he doesn't, then we're far away from a stellar wide receiving core. But adding a guy like, let's say, for example, Terry McLaurin gives you a stellar wide receiving core because he is a bona fide number one guy that Marvin Harrison Jr. can learn from and can be that guy maybe this year, maybe next year, right? But right now, we're putting a lot of weight in Zay Jones. We're putting a lot of weight in Greg Dortch. We're putting a lot of weight on Michael Wilson, which, as of right now, I want to see 800 yards from Michael Wilson if you're going to be wide receiver number 2 for this Arizona Cardinals offense, right? That's what I would love to see. I'm not even asking for 1K. I'm looking for 700, 800 yards if you're going to be wide receiver number 2 moving forward. I think the production that Michael Wilson has given to the Arizona Cardinals offense is actually pretty solid. But I'm looking for a guy that can eventually be what we used to have, right? And it's probably a lot to ask for, right? When we had Larry and Anquan Bowl, and probably one of the best duos we've ever seen in an Arizona Cardinal uniform, bar none, right? Bar none. Not even close. Way better than D Hop and AJ Green. Way better. Way better. And I'm not even going to add Christian Kirk in there. I'm not even going to add any of those other guys that we had. One of the best duos we had. That's what I'm trying to hopefully replicate with the guys that we have. A, I'm tired of the excuses. B, this is going to be a big year for Kyler Murray. And if the alternative happens, and it can be a real possibility that things can happen, injuries happen in Arizona sports, unfortunately. If you're a Diamondback fan, you know what I'm talking about. Injuries happen a dime a dozen. And if you're an Arizona sports fan, you know darn well that injuries can derail a season. So why not provide something like this to give your franchise quarterback right now a full opportunity to compete? Because I could already hear the excuses. I already hear them. I already hear the excuses. Oh, well, he didn't have a good wide receiving core. Nah, this is year 7. Even the national media is finally catching wind. Even the national media right now is catching wind to the fact that this is a big year for Kyler, right? And it is. It's a big year for Kyler Murray. I want him to succeed. I don't want to go after another quarterback. I don't want to go for another 2 or 3 year rebuild. I mean, we're going to have to get lucky and get ourselves a Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud, which could happen, but what are the chances? Arizona Cardinal fans, what are the chances? We're usually not that lucky, right? We're usually not that lucky. So hopefully that answers this question in a nutshell. Do I want Terry McLaurin? Yeah, I feel like it would be foolish for you to not call, especially as a general manager, and at least ask what's the going rate to potentially bring him into an Arizona Cardinal uniform. Do I think the Commanders are going to get rid of him? I don't. I think they would be very foolish to get rid of a Terry McLaurin. This is a guy that is a wide receiver that most people want on their roster. I'm just going to leave it at that, right? Great routes, production is up the yin yang, had his best year. And on top of that, you have a young quarterback that you brought in Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is not a number 1 wide receiver. He's a gadget player. Could be a solid wide receiver, if you give him specific plays that are designed for him. But Terry McLaurin's a number 1 guy. But Terry McLaurin is also not showing up in mandatory minicamp, right? At least per the reports that we ended up seeing. So there's definitely some disgruntledness coming from said Terry McLaurin and the organization. He wants an extension. They haven't given him one yet. He didn't show up. So there's still a little sliver of hope that he might force his way out. Maybe not to the Cardinals. Maybe not to the Cardinals, but he probably could get traded, right? He probably could get traded. So to kind of put a bow on the conversation of do I want, I feel like it's definitely something that you got to obviously do research on. Depends on what he wants. I'm talking about Terry McLaurin. And it depends on if the Arizona Cardinals are willing to do something like that, right? Now, can the Cardinals go and get after Keenan Allen? Yeah, of course they can. Would I be happy with that? I mean, yeah. I mean, any other wide receiver help would be cool, right? I would also like potentially an Amari Cooper. Way cheaper than said a Terry McLaurin, and then you don't have to give up draft capital as well. Are the Cardinals going to do it? I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out. Right now, it seems like Jonathan Gannon seems to be confident with who they have right now at the wide receiving core. Do I agree? Not fully, but it's not my job to make those decisions, right? All I can do is talk about it. All I can do is talk about it and assess when the season starts. Who I would love to see at slot is probably Xavier Weaver, if I'm going to be real. I would love to see Xavier Weaver. But we're probably going to see Greg Dortch. If not Greg Dortch, we're probably going to see Zay Jones. But we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Steven in the chat says, show us Calais Campbell. Yeah, Calais Campbell is looking is in OTAs right now. Let me show y'all. Let me show y'all real quick. Let me go and just do a real quick sharing of my screen. And this is on X/Twitter. Shout out here to Paul Calvisi of obviously the Arizona Cardinals. Here we go. There you go. You want some Calais Campbell content? There's the big man right there. 38 years old, man. Season 18. Here's another one for you. There you go. Yay. There you go, buddy. Want some Calais Campbell content? There you go, buddy. There's some Calais Campbell content. Yeah. So it's one of those things, guys. We'll have to kind of wait and see how it all shakes out. I'm just hoping that the Arizona Cardinals can take that next step, right? Steven in the chat says, I'm excited for this year's team, but the biggest thing is when is this training camp going to start? I would love to see them in action. Training camp is in July. Let me see if the official... I know it's like usually towards the end of July because they're getting ready for obviously preseason. Okay, so the Arizona Cardinals will kick off their 2025 training camp on July 25th. So yeah, so July 25th is when it's going to be, and they're going to be scheduled, I believe, at the end of it's going to be Saturday, August the 3rd. So July 25th through August the 3rd. There you go, Steven. There you go. That's going to be the time that they are going to be doing their training camp. And we're going to start seeing some pads, man. I'm excited. Julio in the chat says, love watching the big man in Cardinal Red. Absolutely. He's definitely one of my favorite acquisitions for sure. He is, it's going to be a fun year, man. As long as everything works out to the way that it should work out on paper, the Arizona Cardinals are a much, and I mean much better team, specifically defensively. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see how it all shakes out and see if this offense can finally get it together, right? Get it together. Robert in the chat says, okay, now who did he have as a wide receiver before we got Marvin Harrison Jr.? You're talking about K1? Let's see here. AZ Sports says, we need to re-sign Will Hernandez. The right side of the O-line is a concern. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. We are putting a lot of weight in second-year player in Isaiah Adams, and I've been telling y'all this for at least about a month now. If Will Hernandez doesn't get re-signed, it's probably going to be Isaiah Adams. Third-round pick, which is going to be cheaper than Will Hernandez, but is he ready to take the jump, right? He might get thrown into it, right? Will Hernandez, I would like to bring him back as well, but I do think it's going to be Isaiah Adams going to be the guy. Right now, sitting as the depth chart is sitting, I think it's going to be Isaiah Adams. On the right-hand tackle, Jonah Williams, right? We do got some good depth when it comes down to Kelvin Beachum, but Kelvin Beachum is getting up there in age as well. So I don't want to lean too heavy on Kelvin Beachum. We're going to have to make sure that Jonah Williams really gets his SHIT going. So, yeah, for what it's worth, there's that, right? For what it's worth, there's that. But I do agree. It would be kind of cool to see. Austin in the chat says, Isaiah Adams or Connor Hayden going to play that right? I think it's going to be Isaiah Adams, if I'm going to be real. Connor might be a depth piece right now. Keep in mind, he was a late-round pick for the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of times, you don't really see those guys in year one unless he absolutely goes nuts, which can happen in training camp. But I think right now, who's going to be that guy is probably going to be Isaiah Adams, if I'm going to be real. Julio in the chat says, and I think the question was asked from my guy Robert saying, I'm assuming you're saying who did K1 have at weapons? D-Hop, Brown, Kirk, and more wide receivers affected by Murray's inconsistency. So here's the thing, right? You got two sides of the coin, right? You got people out there saying that K1 did have weapons. There's some people out there saying that K1 didn't have weapons. K1 did have weapons. I'm on that boat. Myself, I think K1 did have weapons. Unfortunately, he didn't have a Larry Fitzgerald in his prime, but he did have a D-Hop y'all remember that clip that DeAndre Hopkins was pretty much yelling at Kyler Murray? Do you everybody remember that clip? Nobody talks about it very much because DeAndre Hopkins, everybody hates everybody in the Bird game. Whoever is a part of the Arizona Cardinals team, the fan base loves him. If he goes to a different team, they say he's trash, right? He's the worst player ever. Oh, you can't talk bad about people that are currently on our team. But remember the video that was being swirled out there, and I believe it was a part of a primetime game, if I'm not mistaken. But DeAndre Hopkins straight up came up to Kyler Murray and said, "What are you seeing? I'm open. What are you doing?" And then Kyler Murray said, "I'll get you the ball. I'll get you the ball. I'll get you the ball." Right? Pretty much not really allowing him to talk. But like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of those things that like it's not. What's the word? This is not new to me, right? As a guy that's been doing this since Kyler Murray's been here, right? I've been questioning Kyler Murray since he came back from the 8-game sample size, right? The consistency. What I would have loved to see from Kyler Murray was that year one or year two. Now I gave him a little grace period when he came back for the 8 games because obviously the narrative out there was that he just came off a big time injury, which he did, right? He did, but the decisions, and I wasn't really talking about his knee run more. I was talking about the decisions that he was making. Then we saw year two of him, which started off really good, 6-4. Everything was looking great, and then the tail end of the season happened. Pressure kept happening to the Arizona Cardinals, and then Kyler Murray just unfortunately doesn't do really good with pressure. But Kyler Murray has had weapons, right? He has had weapons at wide receiver. D Hop, Larry, Kirk was a pretty solid wide receiver as well. Hollywood Brown, pretty solid wide receiver as well. So, I mean, he didn't have Justin Jefferson, if that's what you're saying. If you're comparing to superstars, then you're probably right, right? DeAndre Hopkins, when he came here, I think he was pretty solid, but definitely not Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase-esque or Larry Fitzgerald Prime-esque. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's see here. Those quarters are gonna get bodied by Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, man, this picture right here is swirling the internet, and it as it should, as it should. Brandon in the chat, what's up, Brandon? Mike, if we can go 3-0 to start, I vote that the mustache comes. Oh, maybe I had to trim the beard down a little bit just because it was getting a little too out of whack. My beard doesn't grow in nicely. So it was getting a little out of whack. So I had to bring it down to the goatee. But maybe if the Cardinals do start off 3-0, maybe we can do something like that where we can place a bet. Maybe the Mario Mike might come back, right? Everybody said I look like Mario or Luigi or something like that with a mustache. But yeah, maybe. I don't think my wife would like it, but hey, for the content, we'll see what happens. Let's go, Robert. Robert in the chat. What's up, Robert? Says we didn't have him for at least 4 years ago. Wasn't here with Gannon. You're talking about D-Hop? You're talking about D-Up? But I mean, keep in mind also too that the Arizona Cardinals offensively at one point was 7-0 or 8-0. Keep that in mind as well. So that tells me that this offense could work, right? Like production was good for the Arizona Cardinals. It's just when the teams adjusted, the Arizona Cardinals unfortunately didn't adjust to the NFL, and they knew exactly what to do. And we're seeing a lot of examples right now of Kyler Murray getting pressured and unfortunately doesn't handle it very well. But DeAndre Hopkins, when he was with the Cardinals, he had some pretty good seasons, man. He really did. In 2020, when he was originally first here, he had 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns. In 2021, I believe 2021 is when he had the suspension, or it might have been 2022. I don't remember which one. It might have been 2022, now thinking about it. 2021, he had 572 yards, but Kyler Murray also did get hurt that year. No, that was 2022. Why was 2021 so brutal? No, okay, let me see. DeAndre Hopkins. Let me see. When was this? Okay, yeah. So DeAndre Hopkins was suspended for the first 6 games in 2022. Okay. So it's 2022. And he put up 717 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2021, yeah, that was that's when the Cardinals had the 4-win season. Things went bad. Things went really, really bad. Really, really bad. Mike, are you still going to do live play? Yes, I will be doing it. Yep, I will be doing it for sure. Eddie in the chat says Hopkins was making crazy catches during the season with the Cardinals. I still remember the game. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. This has to be the year for, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. This because it was running short routes and patterns. You're talking about when he went 1,400 yards, you're saying? I mean, everybody talked about towards the end of the season, he wasn't being used appropriately, right? Or at least people were knocking on the routes that he was taking per Cliff Kingsbury's guru-ness, right? So I mean, there's a lot to unfold when it comes down to it, right? But all I can say right now is that this offense needs to figure it out. That's it. That's it. The offense needs to figure it out. That's it. But yeah, mandatory mini camp happening right now. There's some videos being swirled around right now in the world of the Arizona Cardinals. Seems like it's a lot of drills. You most likely will be seeing probably some highlights on the Arizona Cardinals like social media page. You probably will see a lot of highlights on there. Maybe Kyler Murray connecting with Marv, Kyler Murray connecting with Trey McBride. But just like Jonathan Gannon said, it's hard to put a level of how good these guys can be because the pads aren't on yet, right? And it's really, even when you have the pads on, you can't compare it to football, right? You can't compare it to football. So, I mean, actually on Sundays, that's what I mean. You can't compare it on Sunday football. You can't. The end of the season and the beginning of the second, oh, gotcha. So you're talking about year 2 of D-Hop when he only had 574 yards. Gotcha. That was a bad year, man. Isn't that when the Cardinals went 4 wins? Oh, no, that was 2022. Let's see. So we went from, I don't remember this on top of my head. So yeah, 2021 was a great year. 2022, oh yeah, so I'm sorry. So 2020, 8-8. 2021, 11 wins. 2022, 4 wins. 2022 is when it went bad. And then 2023, 4 wins. 2024, 8 wins. 9. Could have been better, but we all know. We all know a lot of factors that got being put into play with that situation. So crazy time, man. Let's just hope 2025. Let's all hope 2025 can be that for us. Brandon in the chat. Mario Mike, Mustache Mike, all good content. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, y'all. We will be closing up shop right now. I am going to be looking at to see if there's any content, anything else that we have to talk about when it comes down to the Arizona Cardinals. We will be keeping a close eye on multiple different things that are happening right now in the world of the NFL with OTAs. Seems like there's a lot of drills happening right now for the people that are just joining. For the people that are just joining right now, we do have the players that are going to be taking it slow when it comes down to this mandatory OTAs, and that's going to be these players right here. Here we go. Per Jonathan Gannon earlier this morning, we got Josh Sweat, Justin Jones, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zay Jones, as well as Will Johnson. They will be taking it slow in mandatory mini camp, and we are going to have to wait to see what happens, right? What happens? But let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be closing up shop right here. Smack up the like button here on your way out, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for being here. Also, subscribe. We're on the road to 17K. Can't do it without you guys. Subscribe it up. Smack it up. Appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your day. As always, go Cardinals.